3 to Meridian and
Firearms. Copy, Meridian. If there's still active shooting, we'll take the Bearcat, head that way. 39. Upper Sioux, it's going to be Locust Grove and U-Stick, and they just put out a shot flyer, just so you know, on their own.
This is the 1032 podcast, where we interview experts in firearms and training with law enforcement, military, and competitive shooting backgrounds. All right, we've got another podcast going on here, and I got Corey Feldman. How you doing, Corey?
Good. How you doing?
Good. I like Corey. He's a nice guy.
I try to be a nice guy to my friends.
What we're going to talk about here, we got coming up in May 28th, 29th. We have a law enforcement firearms conference that I put together. I have Benny Cooley, who'll be teaching a patrol carbine class. We have Yang Lee teaching a pistol class. I think he's called it Mastering Fundamentals or something like that. And then we got Tate Moots, who's going to be teaching a scoped carbine or DMR class, designated marksman. And while those classes are going on, we also have Corey, who's going to be teaching a breaching class. And one of the reasons why I decided to have a breaching class is because I think it's real important for patrol guys as well as SWAT guys to have some basic breaching techniques. We go out to a lot of these classes on room clearing. You know, it might be an active shooter class like alert, and they talk briefly about breaching, but they mostly emphasize, you know, hallway movement, the room clearing, but they don't teach the guys how to breach. And if you look back on some of the active shooters that we've had across the nation, some of these active shooters are locking doors behind them. They're bringing chains and locking doors with chains and padlocks. And if you can't get in the door, all the room clearing doesn't do you any good. So I think it's going to be a really good class. I've gone through one of Corey's classes about a year ago, and we did some ballistic breaching, some mechanical breaching with some sledgehammers, some hooligan tools, and you're going to bring that to this conference, aren't you?
Yeah. You know what they always say: if you can't get in, you can't get in. So I think it's a good thing that you bring up, that if you do go to some of these active shooter type schools, they tell you, you know, how to room clear, how to locate people, and all of that, but they never do focus on any type of breaching. So I think it's a skill that is lacking on the law enforcement side, especially when it comes to like you were talking about with manual breaching and that type of technique. The only tool that law enforcement usually only uses is a ram. However, you can't ram a pull door, so you have to use some type of a Halligan tool or some type of a pry tool to get that door open. So, and I don't think there's a lot of skill with that based off of trainings that I've seen before. And plus, for your regular patrol guy, those guys need to know how to use a Halligan tool and a sledgehammer. If you have a Halligan tool and a sledgehammer, you can get into anything that you need. So I think this will be a great class for just your regular patrol deputy, as well as your SWAT guy as well.
Yeah, it'll be a good review. One of the things I look at, I look at some of these incidents, whether it's a hostage rescue or active shooters. You look at the techniques or the skills that the individual has to have. And in my opinion, number one is the shooting. Right. Then you got to know how to room clear, and then the breaching. I think you should look at it from what's our ultimate objective. Our ultimate objective in an active shooter is to get in there, shoot the bad guy, and stop the killing. So we start there. What skill do I have to have once I get there? It's the shooting part. You got to be good. You have to have speed and accuracy in your shooting. And then you kind of do a backwards timeline, right? Now we go from the shooting. Okay, well, what do we have to do next? Well, we have to know how to room clear in our hallway formations, and then our breaching. And so we're going to be in this law enforcement conference. Guys will be going through handgun class if they've signed up for it, or the carbine class. And then, we're not going to be doing any room clearing, but I know a lot of guys get a lot of alert type training, it seems like. But I think the things that we lack outside of alert training or active shooter training is the shooting aspect of it, and then the breaching. And the breaching probably even they do less of it than anything else.
Well, I agree, and I think that if you pair both of these, you pair these days up. So you pair your breaching side and then you pair your shooting side. I think you make for one hell of a class to where once you get in there, you can take business and you can do it confidently. I know a lot of like use of force incidences, especially with like physical force and that type of stuff. If you're not confident with your skills, you usually overreact. The problem is when we're slinging bullets and that type of stuff is that other innocents can get killed. So we need to make sure that we are on top of our game and learning that shooting function of it, so we can be successful in the mission that we're doing at the time. And then if we if we couple that with the breaching portion of it, I think you have the majority of the harder skills to be able to solve that problem. And I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. So is there a difference between what you would do breaching-wise patrol versus SWAT? It's kind of the same thing, right? I mean, once you get to the doorway.
Yeah, I mean, breaching is breaching. I mean, there might be some extra tools. I mean, you might have an explosive breaching element to it, but the majority of agencies in Idaho really don't have that. They don't have that explosive breaching side of it. So when it comes down to it, when it comes down to your regular patrol guy or the majority of part-time SWAT teams in the state of Idaho,
What's a regular patrol guy compared to a non-regular patrol guy? Is there a difference?
No.
I was just checking.
Well, you got me. I don't speak good sometimes. But when it comes down to it, if you have your regular your patrol, either officer, deputy, whoever it may be, the majority of the stuff that they're going to have is the same thing your SWAT guy is going to have. Mm-hmm. You're going to have your RAM. You should have a Halligan tool, and then a sledgehammer as well. So
and these are tools that guys can, if the department doesn't buy them, can probably buy on their own and throw in their car.
Yeah,
it's not too expensive, right?
My favorite RAM, I had a guy named Paul. He built it for me, and it's my favorite RAM in the whole wide world. And I don't think that. I think when you make your own tools, you can design it specifically for what you want it and how you like it. So it's customizable to you. So that's the best way to do it, I think.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your class and what kind of format do you use, or tell us what it is that you teach, or what specifically, what are we going to be learning at the law enforcement conference coming up in May?
All right. So specifically what we'll be learning is manual and ballistic breaching, some mechanical breaching as well.
And when you say manual, define that for us.
Well, it's also like sweat power type stuff. So human power, whether it be a RAM, Halligan tool, or sledgehammer, something like that. Usually I kind of break stuff up a little bit differently than what other people do. Usually you'll just hear like mechanical breaching. Mechanical breaching to me is usually when it comes down to like saws or like gas-powered type stuff. That's usually what I call like a mechanical breaching, but then I'll break it down any further into manual breaching, which is all just sweat-powered, human-powered type stuff that you're doing. As far as format of this class, I know we've talked previously before, and it's designed for like an emergency breaching to an active shooter type stuff. So what you'll do is you'll get some basic stuff with like different types of bad guys, whether or not it's like fighters, shooters, hiders. We'll get into approaching structure. What's the best way to approach a structure? Then we'll go into five fundamentals of room clearing, and then just the 5 threat areas inside a structure. Then we'll start getting into how to use RAMs, how to use Halligans, nomenclature, all that type of stuff. All of that time is in a classroom. So it'll be roughly around 3 to 4 hours inside of a classroom. After we get done with that classroom portion of it, then we'll go out to the range and we'll start using Halligan tools, RAMs, we'll use electric power tools and then some gas power tools, electric chainsaw for maybe wooden fences. If you guys need to do some type of operation where you have to get through a wooden fence. And then as well as cutting rebar with a rescue saw. Then after we get done with that, we'll work with a Halligan, with a ram, learn how to do that as a team, and then as just a one person. And then we will run into ballistic breaching after that. And then after we get done, everybody feels comfortable with the manual breaching, the ballistic breaching. Then we will start running some scenarios and kind of carry ourselves to the door, make sure we have long cover, door cover, that type of thing. And then I'll designate which door that you guys are going to open, and then they'll either use the appropriate tool to get the door open and make a positive breach.
So give me an example of what it would look like if I'm standing there, you as the instructor. What's it going to look like? What are you going to be coaching me through?
I'll be coaching you through how you efficiently operate a Halligan tool. So,
what is a Halligan tool? Explain that for guys who don't know what that is.
A Halligan tool is if you take a look at firemen, what they carry around, they have those, they call them irons usually. They have a forked end on a bottom end, and then an adze end and a pike.
A long iron bar, right?
Yeah, it's usually 30 inches. 30 inches. The
like
Halligan tool that I have,
almost,
yeah.
Right? A pry bar with a fork on the end and a little, little thumb hook.
Yeah, they have that little pike or spike, and then they have the adze in. It looks kind of like a duckbill on it. As we go through instruction on that, I'll be giving you guys giving them instruction on.
So if I'm holding a Halligan tool, I'm going to walk up. You're going to show me where to place that on the door.
Where to place it on the door, and then how to force the door.
How to force the door open.
Mm-hmm. And then, but I mean, it's not just for forcing doors. We'll also go over how to pull hinges, how to pull hinges off of doors. I mean, just everything that we can use and everything that we can use the Halligan for to get forced entry inside the door. Whether or not we have to pull the hinges, because that's the only thing we have, and take the door off that way. So well, it's a great tool that I don't think a lot of law enforcement officers understand how to use and how to use properly.
I mean, I would think, looking back on my career, there's, either things I've been involved in or other guys that I know of that I worked with involved in. It seemed like it was not uncommon to have some kind of a domestic dispute or something where you hear somebody screaming and doors locked, right? So this is something that the average patrol guy could use for something like that, right?
Yep. And the thing I love about Halligan tool is if that's all you have and you don't have a ram, you can force doors that are push doors, and you can force doors that are pull doors. So I mean, it's pretty amazing.
So what would be, let's say, just your standard, single family home? You need to make an emergency entry as a patrol guy. Let's say there's 2 or 3 of you there at the front door. You hear some screaming, whatever. I mean, what about just kicking the door?
You can kick the door. It's going to be a lot harder. A lot of the issues that come down to is that when people start kicking doors, that they do that traditional Spartan kick and that type of stuff. Usually, if they do get that door open,
this is Sparta, something like that.
Yeah. They'll fall into the door, and if there's any type of issue to where as they're falling down into the door, they can get, there could be shots fired. There could be a whole bunch of different issues that happen with that.
You just injure your knee, right?
That too.
I know guys have been injured kicking doors.
Yep. And then traditional mule kicks are probably the best, but it's going to take several kicks to get in there. And if you're making a whole bunch of noise and banging on the door like that, when you need to get in, it also gives time for the bad guy to get set up and be able to
And so you think
respond.
using a Halligan tool is much safer for the guys?
Yeah, it's safer and faster. And then that way, we're not following into the door. When the door comes open, we can do that threshold check to make sure that it's visually clear and make sure that it's safe to enter.
Okay. And then what other options do patrol guys have besides using hooligan tools?
They have rams. You can use a ram as well to get inside the door. The problem that comes down to is there's a lot of products out there with rams that aren't conducive to actually ramming. Mm-hmm. Just their makeup. Usually, sometimes they'll have the handles that are kind of like plastic or rope, and that those type of tools rob you of kinetic energy. So you want all the energy that you can use on the door. So you need to be very careful with that. Also, we have issues with hollow core doors. People have a tendency of they want to ram hollow core doors, and problem
It goes all the way through.
Yeah, ram goes all the way through. So I mean, there's different techniques that we can use to where we're not ramming the door all the way through the door.
Well, I remember one time many years ago at a domestic dispute. I was with this guy named Sklar many years ago, and I think we were in the house, and the guy ended up running into a bathroom or something, and he kicked the door. It was a hollow core door. You know what usually happens with that.
Yeah.
Foot kind of gets stuck in there.
Yep.
So that's not a good thing.
Well, I've heard stories about people like mule kicking a door, and then they like broke the door in half, so the top part is standing up, and the bottom part is swinging free. So yeah, that's pretty. It can get silly dealing with hollow core interior doors for sure.
So let's say you're just an average patrol guy. What kind of equipment would you recommend for the average patrol guy to carry for emergency breaching?
For emergency breaching, a Halligan tool, a sledgehammer, at minimum, and then a ram. And I think, like I said before, rams are easy to construct yourself. The main thing you need to do is just have somebody who can weld, and then purchase the steel for you. They never go bad. Once you build one, it's there pretty much for life. So,
then what about other options? Is there guys carry shotguns? Is that something that you're going to go over in the class? Is ballistic breaching with a shotgun?
Yeah, we'll go over ballistic breaching with a shotgun as well. Ballistic breaching with a shotgun is.
Isn't that dangerous though?
Well, no, it's not dangerous. So the main thing that we have to worry about with
right, because that's usually what. I remember years ago when I first started with the agency, I came over from a federal agency where we did ballistic breaching, and I remember bringing that up, and I was pretty much told we don't do that here.
Yeah,
that was the old way of thinking, and I think that kind of went away. But
yeah, I think the problem is that we have to do stuff properly. So we need to use some type of a frangible copper slug in order to do it safely for the people on the other side of it, as opposed to
because I'm sure you've heard of certain
stuff.
administrators that are apprehensive about letting guys do that kind of stuff, right?
Because
they don't understand.
Yeah,
they don't have the training.
They don't understand. They don't have the training. I've done tests with Royal Arms Tazar rounds. And I've put ballistic gel on the other side of the door where the throw is, and I've shot into the door with orange caps, and there was no penetration in the ballistic gel whatsoever. So, I mean, it is safe.
And Royal Arms is a company who kind of specializes in breaching.
Yes.
And they sell specialty shotgun ammunition and different things for breaching, right?
Yeah, they do. They even have specific rounds for cutting rebar, as well as heavy chain and heavy locks as well. So I mean, they're pretty versatile in the ammunition that they do have to solve that problem.
And that's what you would recommend if guys are running breaching shotguns, to have something like that.
If they're going to run, well, they need to take a look at their target areas that they're going to hit. If they're going to hit commercial doors and that, there's specialty rounds for commercial doors, Class 2 metal doors, Class 3 metal doors. And then there's specialty rounds for cutting rebar. I mean, if you're going to be cutting rebar, you're usually going to have some type of explosive breaching aspect into some type of concrete. So if you're gonna be doing that, they have specialty rounds for breaching that with frangible copper rounds.
Man, it's snowing some more, man. We've got like a foot of snow overnight.
Yeah.
And it's still snowing out there.
I was thinking to myself, if I grew up where I did, this would be no thing, and then people would be going to school.
Yeah, I can't believe there's no school today. Dude, I was like, we need some 80s snow.
I know.
Then we'd have some real snow.
It's pretty bonkers. Grew up in southeastern Idaho, you know what's snowing.
Yeah, you drive an hour outside of this valley and it's real winter.
That is true, for sure.
So, so you're going to teach the guys how to use hooligan tools, some rams. You're going to talk about rams.
Yeah, I'll talk about rams as well. Just what they need to be looking for, proper size. Explain to them how I created my ram and what makes it, I think, better than anything that you can buy proprietary.
So hooligan tools, rams. What about sledgehammers?
Sledgehammers, yeah, you can set that Halligan tool, or you can breach doors with sledgehammers. You can do all that type of stuff. When it comes down
And
to
will
brick,
you be
going through
teaching that in the class?
as
Will
well.
you
Yeah.
have sledgehammers?
Yep. So they'll set Halligan tools with sledgehammers, and they'll set Halligan tools with a ram as well.
Okay. So those things there are all very relevant to the average patrol guy.
Patrol guy, yeah, for sure. And then they'll get some extra information as well as like fundamentals of room clearing, everything that comes down to it, to the approach to, this is my issue, how do I approach this problem, how do I set up on this problem, right? So safely, so have your long cover, door cover, all that. Then how to properly breach a door with whatever tool, whether or not we're using manual or ballistic breaching type thing. And then we're making entry into the room. And then that portion couples nicely with that shooting aspect or the shooting portions of the other classes. So now we have somebody who can see a building that has a problem, whether or not it be an active shooter or even some type of domestic issue inside a residence, how they can make a safe approach, how they can safely stack on a door, and then how they can properly breach inside of it and make entry. Then with the other shooting classes that are there, that gives us the skill that makes us so we can shoot accurately and with confidence and make sure that we can be heroes and save the day.
Awesome. And are you going to go over any other types of breaching? So it's going to be manual breaching or mechanical breaching using these.
Yeah, specifically
using these
those.
tools, and then you're going to do some ballistic breaching with the shotgun.
Ballistic breaching with a shotgun, and then we'll get into some breaching with saws, like a quickie saw or electric chainsaw. Why we want to use a quickie saw or electric chainsaw, and then we'll be using some saws, cutting some.
Are you going to have
rebar.
the students actually use those to practice breaching, or are you going to just demo and explain it for their information, or
depending on
time
and that type of stuff, and that I'll just show them the stuff. If we have time to where we can have them breach, yeah, we'll have them cut a portion of a wood fence so they can see how that happens, and then especially with cutting rebar with the quickie saw. That'll definitely happen. Everybody will get a chance to actually pick up that big saw, feel how it feels, and then cut some rebar. So that portion will definitely happen. As far as the electric chainsaw and the electric saw, it's all dependent on time. But they'll see it, and I'll demo that for them for sure.
Great. Well, that sounds like a good class. And this is going to be part of the Firearms Conference we're having May 28th and 29th, or 27th, 28th. I can't remember now.
I'm going to take a look at that.
I think it's 28th, 29th. You should be more prepared when we do these podcasts.
Well, I try hard.
It's May 28th, 29th, 2025. It's going to be at the Double Tap Range in Boise, Idaho. We're going to have this 2-day firearms conference. I say there's going to be 4 classes to choose from. You got to choose 2 classes, and each class is a full day class. So you'll choose, again, either a breaching class, handgun class. or patrol carbine, or a designated marksman rifle class. So those are the 4 classes to choose from. That's going to be, again, at the Double Tap Range, Boise, Idaho. And we'll probably be going from like 8 to 5 every day. And you can find the information at idaho1032.com. If you want to register, it's $600 for the class. It's basically $300 a day.
And that's
you gotta sign up for 2 classes.
With the instructors that are there. That's one hell of a deal too. I mean, this is world-class training.
Yeah, we got Benny Cooley. You know, he's a multi-time world champion in about every shooting discipline you can think of.
Like
everything from 3-gun to pistol to long-range shooting. He's been doing all the NRL Hunter matches and winning those.
It's like meeting Michael Jordan. It
Michael
really
Jordan
is.
is shooting, yes. Yep. And then we got Yang Lee, who's also
He's
a 5-time
phenomenal.
grandmaster.
Yep.
And he's a former SWAT guy as well. Benny, he was going back to Benny Cooley. He was a SWAT guy for the Department of Energy, and on the team there, and as a special response team guy and a trainer. And Yang Lee, who's doing the pistol class, he's a 5-time grandmaster in USPSA, and a former SWAT guy out of Washington.
Yep.
And then we got Tate Moots, who's teaching the designated marksman class, or the patrol carbine, or the scope carbine class. And he's a former Border Patrol guy and Department of Energy guy. He has some special operations experience in those fields, and he was a competitive shooter for many, many years and has done very well in those competitive shooting events. And so hopefully you guys will come sign up and get some knowledge. And outside of that, Corey and I have talked about taking this breaching and shooting on the road, where I'll be teaching a pistol class, and Corey will be doing a breaching class. So it'd be 2 days. We'd like to go on the road and go to whatever agencies would sponsor us, and we'd be basically an active shooter type class, where we're teaching the parts that are not typically taught at like an alert class or an active shooter class. We want to focus on the shooting aspect for a day, and then focus on the breaching. We feel that those are the things that are lacking at these active shooter classes, right?
Yep. And everything's post-approved, and you get post-hours for it.
Yep, that's right. And everything at this conference as well is post-approved. So the class that I just named off, those 4 different classes, those are all approved through post. So in case, for whatever reason, some guys, it's a big thing to them that has to be post-certified. But
Yep. Post-certified, and then if you're an instructor and you go to this, that counts for your continuing education as well.
That's right.
So if you're out there and you need continuing education, this is one hell of a class for you to go to.
All right, Corey. Well, thanks a lot. Thanks for giving us a quick overview of your class, and hopefully come May, we'll have a class full of students.
Oh, it'll be really cool. It'll be awesome. Can't wait.
Oh, before we end here,
Yes.
Just briefly, tell us where you learned how to breach.
Oh,
Right? Just so guys know, so they don't go, it's Corey Feldman, he's just a movie star.
okay. So I've, well, that's a child actor. The places that I've learned through FET. So I've done their
FET, what does FET stand for?
It's a forced entry. I think it's like forced entry tactical training, something like that. It's based out of Las Vegas. So I did training there. I did their MMBTH a long time ago. It's like manual, mechanical, ballistic, thermal, and hydraulic class. Did that, and then spent time with firemen. Talking with them, and then going through classes through just different firehouses.
Firemen are good at breaching doors.
They're very good at breaching doors. For all the hose dragging they do, they can get inside a structure really, really easy. And they're really efficient at it. That's one of their things that they do. So went to a lot of learning in classes and talking with those guys. And then I also...
You're a ballistic breacher too, though, right?
Yeah.
Right? With explosives? Or I mean explosive breacher.
Explosive breacher.
Yeah.
Explosive breacher. I did that through FET as well, but the majority of all my explosive breaching training is all through Darcy. Yeah. So Direct Action Resource Center over there. So that's kind of my philosophy is with it, and then my philosophy with ballistic breaching as well, ballistic breaching as well as through Darcy-based systems.
I didn't know you were
type
into
stuff.
philosophy. That's pretty awesome.
Well, I'm smart enough.
Yeah.
To even I'm surprised they even pulled that word out.
I like sometimes, I might need to come talk to somebody that can talk philosophy. So,
Like Socrates.
Yeah.
You know,
is that how you say his name?
I think it's Socrates, but I'm on a Bill and Ted level of.
All right, man. I just wanted to throw that out there. I wanted guys to kind of know where your background comes from. And
Yeah.
You've been a SWAT guy for quite a long time. How many years now?
I believe over 15 years.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So even though a lot of this comes from the SWAT background, I think you guys who are not on SWAT teams, maybe you're on a specialty team, task forces, and just like Corey said, the regular patrol guy.
Yeah, regular patrol deputy.
I think learning this stuff is important. We've seen a few videos over the last little while of guys doing hostage rescues. There was that one not too long ago where they're on the porch and the guy takes his, I think, wife or girlfriend in the back room, locks the door, and the officer there busts the window.
Oh
and
yeah,
climbs through the window. And
I was
chases the
looking
guy
at
to the
that. I was
back.
like, oh my God, watch those femorals and cojones going through there. They need to clean that glass out.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to get in, but
They did a good job though.
they did a great job. But I thought somebody's going to get
Yeah,
cut.
I thought so too. But the guy did a good job. He rescued the hostage.
Oh yeah,
right?
you'd take that any day for sure.
All right, guys. That's about it. And hopefully we'll see you at the May 20th, 29th in Boise at the Firearms Conference.
Yep. See you guys there.
See you. All right, here we are. Tate, good to have you back.
How we doing, Raul?
Good. We had you here, I don't know, a few months ago on the podcast talking about your background, doing some border patrol work, doing some work with the Department of Energy and your competitive shooting. I had a couple of people go, hey, why don't you talk about hunting at all? And I was like, well, it seems like I always have to help Tate carry out his elk. So
You've helped me one time carry out my elk, and you didn't even help. It was your son-in-law.
Hey, I hired the help out. So, well, I didn't even hire him. I didn't pay him. So he got nothing.
Yeah.
But it was a good experience. It was a good time. Hey, let's talk about, we got this conference coming up. Law Enforcement Firearms Conference in Boise, Idaho, at the Double Tap Range, we're calling it. We have Benny Cooley teaching patrol carbine. We got Yong Lee, who's teaching handgun mastery. Corey Feldman, who's going to teach some ballistic and mechanical breaching. And we have you, Tate Moots. You're going to teach scope carbine, correct? Tell us a little bit about what that entails.
Well, scope carbine, what I typically do is I know my audience and I get as much prior knowledge as I can from each of the students, and I tailor make the class for each of them. So hopefully we could do that for this one as well. But not knowing who the audience is, I would probably step it down a notch and cover some basics first, see where they're at, and then have to adjust on the fly to see, we've got to give them something more than what they've had in every single basic sniper course or basic carbine course they've had. So the goal, of course, is to make these guys confident with the gear that they have, and make them capable of handling whatever situation they get themselves into or called to perform at,
Yeah. So real quick, let's say you got a guy who's looking for something that he wants to take back to his agency. Let's say they don't have scope carbines, because a lot of agencies nowadays, most everybody has a carbine of some sort. Most people have a red dot. There's a few that have scopes on them. When we're talking about a scope, we're not talking red dot. We're talking about a variable powered scope from a 1 to 6, 1 to 8, 1 to 10, whatever that they have.
Yep.
Maybe even like a 3 to 12 or something. But what would you, why do you think it'd be an advantage? Why would it be a good idea for at least some patrol guys to have something like that in their vehicles?
Well, first and foremost, positive ID of any threats or non-threats. The multiple powers or variable powers in all these optics just gives the guy a lot better chance of identifying what is actually going on. And it's really hard to tell sometimes with just a red dot what's truly going on if there's any distance involved. And from a commander's perspective, having that glass on target gives him a lot more situational awareness from that observation piece. But one of the things that I always like to do is I take quite a few setups and let the guys play with each one of them and make sure that if they don't have anything in their agency, hey, let's get the right thing for our mission, whatever our mission is. And if it's all police officers, well, we know that statistically all their shots are going to be inside 100 yards or 100 meters, whatever they work with. And um, they don't need huge magnification, but I'm going to let them play with it anyway so that they get a good perspective of what each individual really works well with.
Yeah. So what would give us a general overall overview of what we think of when we say scope carbine? What does that look like?
Well, I mean, in
I know
today's
it's going to be
world,
different for everybody, but just kind of
yeah,
something, when you're trying to explain to maybe somebody new, explain to somebody new, what is a scope carbine? What does that look like?
a scope carbine is every agency is going to have their own thing, of course, and budgets and all that good stuff dictate what the guys can get a lot of the time, unless they do it on their own, which is crazy difficult to get a guy to do. But some sort of a gas operated rifle, and hopefully it's got a little bit more accurized barrel and ammunition combination, and then um, a piece of glass that is more than just a zero magnification and a dot inside of it. It's got some power so that the guy can make more accurate shots depending on whatever that situation is and have observation. But we teach them to uh, make a heck of a lot more accurate shots than the guys are required to do with their dotted rifles or iron sighted rifles. And so we make them shoot further, we make them shoot harder targets, smaller targets, shoot the middle or a certain piece of a large target, not just the whole target itself. They have to identify, for instance, shooting below the eyebrow, opening up hands versus shooting up in the forehead and closing hands for certain situations, stuff like that.
So you're not training snipers here, or you are?
No, we're not training snipers, but they're going to have an understanding of ballistics for sure.
So we're saying we're kind of like almost an in between. Hey, you're not a sniper, but it's a little bit more capability than the average patrol carbine.
Absolutely, a lot more capability, just understanding the difficulties and understanding external ballistics. Wind is the hardest piece, but being able to make a shot that some guys may not be comfortable with.
Mm-hmm. So scope carbine. So say for example, I kind of have an AR-15 that's got a 1 to 10 night force on it, and that's kind of like my rifle I take with me anytime I'm just kind of wandering around out in the desert or in the woods on my side by side. It's kind of like my do everything um, rifle that I have,
It's
and
your do everything rifle because you're comfortable making close
yeah,
and far shots with it because of that
yeah, and
glass.
I'm running some 77 grain ammunition in that, and it's pretty good glass. It's a BCM rifle with a 16-inch barrel. Ideally, I would think that probably maybe an 18-inch barrel for something like that, but I think either one of those would work. Is that right?
Right, right. Yes. I
and I have a
mean,
suppressor on it as well. So
yeah, my DMR rifle for OST had a 14.5 inch 308 barrel.
yeah,
The barrel length, of course, I would always prefer more, but they don't have to have more. We just have to give them a good matchup with whatever barrel they have and a good quality ammunition that will give them some better ballistics,
hmm
external ballistics.
yeah. So we're gonna want that 1 to 6 or 1 to 8, whatever scope that they have,
Yep,
right? And I know when I worked patrol and I carried a rifle with a scope on it, I always wanted to make sure it was on the lowest power setting.
yes, you
Initially,
always
right?
want to set that. You always want to set your pre-mission deployment setup, your pre-engagement setup. You want it on um, attack mode, right? So you want it to be where if you were ambushed, as we've had many police officers in recent history, we've had them ambushed. You want your rifle set up for that, and that's on most of these LVPOs or low variable um, optics, the lowest power is usually 1.5, or 2, and then that gives them that same perspective as shooting iron sights or a red dot, so that they can get on those dangerous close or ambush targets with a lot of speed.
Yeah. And then from there, if they had to, if they're on a perimeter or something, they can zoom in, look into windows, maybe a door that's open, that's dark inside, they can zoom in and look at that, right?
That's right.
That's where the
That's
capability comes in with those optics. Especially during the sun's up, maybe the door's open, windows are open, but lights are off on the inside and being able to see inside. It's hard to do that with a red dot.
That's right. Red dot iron sights, looking through uh, the haze of dusk and dawn and reflections on windows and all kinds of the scenarios are endless, but the power in those optics, especially with modern optics, glass companies are so good these days. They're making really high quality glass and giving our police officers and military such a better observation tool, to work with.
Yeah. One of the things we were doing some training a while back with Benny Cooley, and one of the things he pointed out was just like, hey, just for example, active shooter, he's like, how long are some of your hallways in the high schools? And we got some big high schools around here. I remember, I think we measured one of them, it was about 125 yards,
That's
and
right.
I mean, you can make those, shots probably with the red dot, but being able to zoom down, identify what somebody's doing, in a corner somewhere.
Yeah, you can make those shots with a red dot, but do you want to when you're shooting inside of a school that's loaded with kids, innocents?
Yeah. So
The variable power gives you the ability to really accurize that shot and put it on the correct target.
yeah. So uh talk a little bit about, I said we kind of um got off a little bit on other topics about equipment, but now that we talked briefly about equipment, go back to talking about your class. So guys get there, they're going to show up hopefully with the AR-15 style rifle. Most people will probably be shooting a 223. They have a variable powered optic like a 1 to 6, 1 to 8, 1 to 10. They're going to have their ammunition. Tell us how you would start out the class after we do introductions, that kind of stuff. You look over equipment.
Well, initially we'll talk a little bit about rifle setup and where the field of view actually is inside these variable power optics versus where they think things are. It's unbelievable how you can show them one little trick on where the actual eye box is, and guys are like, I had no idea, but we'll talk briefly about the rifle setup, why we put things where we put them, and then I want to get the guys shooting right away. I want to see where they're at on a set your rifle up to take a couple of shots, and then of course repeatability. So one of the things I love about testing a guy's setup is not to have the guy lay down and shoot a group. I want the guy build and break his positions every time and shoot a group. So that's a whole lot harder when you build and break your positions, and guys typically don't practice that. They lay down on the line and they shoot a group, and they try to shoot the tightest little group without moving their cheek weld, without moving anything.
Mm-hmm.
But in all reality, these guys get into a position, they're going to get one at most two shots at something,
They're
and
saying
it's
they need to
over.
get on, do something besides just get in a position like you're zeroing every time, right? That's what a
Yeah,
lot of people
and
do.
then of course, when you like one of the Department of Energy, uh, I think it was a sniper class or something. We had to wait 60 minutes, and we had three presentations in 60 minutes. That is brutal. I would never do that to these guys, because that's an hour that you will never get back of your
Yeah,
life.
they
But
did that.
we'll talk about stuff like that.
That's the precision rifle full
Yeah,
armor class. Yeah, because I went through
yeah.
that class. We
Oh,
did the
it's
same thing.
brutal.
Yeah, you get three shots, and yeah, I knew it was a long time. I couldn't remember how long it was, but yeah, it seemed like half hour, an hour, or something like that. And you're just sitting behind the rifle, looking through glass and trying to get the kinks out of your neck as you're going along. Yeah, and you get very few shots. So, so yeah. So go ahead with the class. So, what kind of stuff? So you do a lot
Well,
of positional shooting.
yeah. So I have never actually done one of these 1 day courses, and so I'm hoping that I can present a lot of the tools and tricks and trades that I've learned through all of my career. 30 years of being a so-called sniper or designated marksman. I'm gonna do my best to give them everything that I've learned through all that, and a lot of competition tricks, because I truly believe that competition really drives a lot of our technology and advances it really quickly. And so I'm going to bring a ton of my gear, let them see, what kind of gear works for what, and build some nasty positions. We're gonna build and break positions. We're gonna make comfortable positions, awkward positions, good targets, hard targets,
I just want
stuff
to
like
show up for the comfortable ones.
that. Pardon?
I just want to show up for the comfortable ones.
Yeah, yeah, me too. But it's it's not necessarily, hey, you guys go to the range and shoot a 5 round group or a 10 round group once a week, and you're really dialed in for that zero shot. I want them to be comfortable with any kind of shot, and so um, giving them just tools in their toolbox. So experiences of setting up in some awkward position gives them, oh, I've done something like this before. They get into a stairwell or some high level building, and they're looking down or across or something like that. Hey, I've been in a situation like this before. I know how to build a quality position. And there's tools that, a little piece of equipment here, simply an arc rail and a tripod. An arc rail and a tripod, what used to be the mecca in a sniper match was shooting a 10-inch plate at 1,000 yards, and now we can shoot that standing up off of a tripod. It's the game has changed so much just because of a little bit of technology.
Yeah. And people probably, those who don't know you, you were a sponsored three-gun shooter. I mean, you were nationally ranked shooter. I mean, you've been around the country competing from East Coast to West Coast, from North to South, and you were sponsored by multiple companies. And I used to tell people, yeah, I know him. I know that guy. I know him.
Well, the one thing that I'll say about that is, you know what, man, I've had a lot of fun shooting competitions and world SWAT challenges and world 3 gun shoots and sniper matches, and oh my goodness, I've had so much fun doing that. But I no matter how you slice it, I have shot with, competed with the best shooters in the world and learned tricks from all of them. I've watched them, learned from them. You mentioned Benny Cooley. I still compete with Benny Cooley every chance that I can in the NRL hunter matches, and he is a complete beast when it comes to shooting a long range rifle. And because of those experiences, I can pass them on to other people that are coming up through the ranks.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you definitely have a lot of experience. So let's say somebody's contemplating coming to your class. So let's say all they have is their regular patrol 16-inch carbine, and they're like, hey, maybe I have this 1-6 scope on there. I'm gonna throw it on there and come to class. Is that something they can use?
Absolutely. I don't care what they have. And if they don't have anything, they can shoot my guns. I don't care.
All right, that's good to know. So I'm sure there's guys that may be wanting to experiment. Hey, let me take this red
Yeah.
dot off, and maybe they only got one gun, but
Yeah. The only way to know is to try,
yeah,
right? You have to try it. And if you think, hey man, I've got this, carbine that my dad put together or whatever, and an old Very X2, duplex reticle, hey, bring it. I don't care.
so as long
and
as it,
and and you could shoot my stuff, and we could shoot other people's stuff that they bring, and you find out what works for you, and we will get you the best setup that we can before you leave.
well, that's good to know. That's that's a that's a good instructor right there. That's going to let you use his equipment so that because he's more concerned about you learning than anything else. So,
Well, I'm mostly concerned about all these guys in blue and green coming home safe. That's the overall mission.
well, they gotta be good enough that if I get in trouble, they can come save me.
That's right.
So I'm too old to save myself now. So,
Yeah, I'm too old and broken to be saving myself. So I need these young guys to be comfortable, confident, do what they do, come home safe and healthy.
well, good. So if somebody shows up to your class, they have a 16-inch carbine or even a 14 and a half, whatever, as long as they throw a variable power scope on there, they have a sling. If they do, can either borrow or bring some bags, maybe a tripod, a bipod for the rifle. If they have some of that stuff, bring it with them. And if they don't, then
Then I'll have lots of stuff. And if all they have is their issued carbine with a red dot on it, bring it. We'll throw one of my scopes on. I'm still pretty blessed with the sponsorship stuff, so I've got lots of optics. We can throw optics on their rifle and let them play with whatever they want. I've got all different shapes and sizes.
well, good.
And
That's good to know for guys who are wanting to maybe try this out.
yeah,
Makes me sad that you've never offered that to me. I've never heard this spiel before. So, but all right, Tate, that's good information. Hopefully, we can fill this class, and we're going to have a lot of people show up for this firearms conference May 28th, 29th. And it's a law enforcement only conference. So tell your buddies about it and let's get these classes filled. So,
Roger that, my friend.
all right. Thanks a lot, Tate. We'll
All right,
talk.
buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.